Ben's Tech Tips. Ben's Tech Tips.
And that's how you beat the final boss. But wait, there's more. Let's go! Howdy, folks, and welcome back to another tech tip. I'm really excited about today. I can't even hide it. This might represent the most excited I've been for a change in artificial intelligence. The chatbot stuff is really cool. The planning stuff, it's really cool, but I could wrap my head around it. But this change actually left me speechless. And it's over the past few months, the coding capability of AI models has exploded to the point where the top level programmers are using it for 80% of their work. Where before they would use it for 20% of their work and they do the rest 80% of them. It's switched now. It's so trusted that these multi-billion-dollar companies are using it as a primary source of coding. Maybe not great for some people's jobs, but it is great for people who don't know how to code. I don't know the first thing about coding. It's, you stare at it, it looks like gibberish, but I've been able to create some really cool stuff just by, as I say, vibe coding, but it's just gotten so good. So today I wanted to show you an example using Claude, which is the chatbot from Anthropic. Full transparency, I've sort of boycotted ChatGPT and OpenAI. So I've really dove into Claude. I have a pro account, but I'm going to do today's work on the free account to show you can do this on a free account. You can do a similar thing with ChatGPT if that's still your cup of tea. And it will be rolling out to Gemini. It is in the pro version of Gemini right now, but it's not in the free version. So if you want to do it for free, it's going to be ChatGPT or Claude, and it works basically the same. What we're going to do today is create simulations on demand for our students and our classes. So you can use it as a demo. You can give it out to students to use. You can send it to colleagues to try out, and they can even tweak it for what works for them. Let's start off with a classic. I'm teaching ecology. I want to do ecosystem collapse, wolves at Yellowstone, balancing out ecosystem with predators and producers and consumers. Okay, so I'm going to get Claude, I have no experience in this, to create a simulation that I can then share with my class. So I said, I want to create a science simulation showing population dynamics of an ecosystem, the classic Yellowstone wolves. I want to have sliders that allow me to change the values of producers and different levels of consumers, including top level predators, i.e. wolves. Then I changed my mind because everyone's seen the Yellowstone thing a lot. Actually, let's do this for an aquatic ecosystem instead. Same principles apply. And I just added killer whales for the top consumer. So I hit enter, and then usually it's going to ask you a couple clarifying questions, and then it's just going to go to work. So the nice thing about this is all you have to be able to do is articulate what you want, and it's going to handle the rest. And if something comes up and it is not working correctly, all you say is, hey, it's not working correctly. Just describe what's happening. It's going to go through its own code and it's going to fix it. Aquatic ecosystem population dynamics. So initial populations, killer whales, simulation years, phytoplankton growth rate, predation pressure, ocean nutrient level. And the thing here is the science is really good. It gets pretty intense level physics correct. The understanding that it has, its ability to do calculations now, is amazing. And this is why it's left me speechless. I knew this day would come, but I didn't know it would come so quickly. And I like that you also have the option to be notified when it responds. Some of these take a little while longer to populate. So it says, here's your aquatic ecosystem simulation. It models a 5-tier Pacific Ocean food web using Lotka-Volterra differential equations. The trophic chain, what to experiment with. You can try crashing the orca population. Crank the orcas up to 35 plus with low salmon and watch the cascade collapse downward through the food web. Nutrient upwelling, raise ocean nutrient levels, and see what happens to phytoplankton, etc., etc. Here is our population dynamics. So let's crack up the phytoplankton. Phytoplankton grow really slowly, but there's lots of predators and little nutrients. We're going to run the simulation, and boom, we have a graph. So it's going to show you over this 126 years what happens. And I go over the graph and it's showing me the numbers. And then we can hit reset. So let's put a 40 orcas, leave everything, and we're gonna run our simulation. Boom. So populations crash out, orcas start high. They're going to die off as the phytoplankton explode. And once it gets really high, all of a sudden the lower level consumers are going to start to come back. But the orcas are going to take a long time to recover from the crash because they ran out of food. So that's really cool. It's a pretty basic thing. What you can do is you can save this as an artifact. And then with this artifact, you can then share that out with other people. And the cool thing is you don't need a login to access it. You can create it, you can post it in your Google Classroom, and the kids can click the link, they don't log in, and they just interact with the simulation. So now this is it, coding it out, and this is what I'm talking about. I can't do any of this, but it's doing it for me. So it's just doing HTML and describing what this is going to look like. So now we're going to turn this basic looking thing into something nicer. Now we have our population dynamics simulation here. It's just graphical, but it's something that I can then publish and copy link. And then if I go into a new window and paste that link, so now we have a full screen view. So this is what your kids would see. And then if you send to someone, they can customize it and they can tweak it to what they like. Tons of nutrients. The phytoplankton grow really fast. Let's start with a low phytoplankton count and see with a fast growth rate and lots of nutrients what's going to happen. So starts off real low, they explode, and then it follows the classic kind of inverse graph where as they get eaten, their population drops, and the fish eating them, their population grows. So forage fish goes really high. And then as those fish dry down, the phytoplankton comes back and it just kind of waves back and forth and it finds its balance, so to say. The problem with using something free, there's limits to it. Now you can do these things and different time of the day will give you different limits. So if it's a really busy time of day, you're gonna be able to do less. But I was able to make this whole thing, but now I'm out of free messages until 7 p.m. I have to wait a few hours, right? But the idea that I can create any simulation I want for any class I want or any subject I'm teaching on demand is amazing to me. It's incredible. Let me show you a few other things I made, and maybe we can tweak this a bit because I wasn't quite finished with it. I think it'd be more fun to create a pictorial representation rather than a graph. So let's try to push this a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my Claude. I'm going to copy this whole code. And I'm going to go into my pro account where I have less limits, and let's try to flesh it out. You can do all the same things. It's just going to take you a little longer time. Now, when you create artifacts, you'll see like over here you have chats, you have customize, chats, projects, and artifacts. So artifacts, when you create these things, you have them and it stores them for you. So you can go to new artifact or you can go to your artifact, and I'll show you some of those after. Let's go to new artifact. And then we have some apps and websites, productivity tools, creative projects, quiz or survey, start from scratch. We're going to start from scratch. I'm going to paste all the code in here and it should be able to recreate that artifact because I gave it all the code it needed. So boom, here we are. We have it same as before. So I just said, yeah, I like this graph, but I'd also like a pictorial representation for, you know, that nice visual. So like to have sprites or emojis, because the thing with Claude is it can't create images per se like Gemini or ChatGPT, but it's really good at the coding part. But it can leverage sprites and emojis. So floating across a cross section of continental shelf, the visual numbers of them demonstrate the changes in population. Make sense? Make there a separate tab for this. So I want to have a graph tab and I want to be able to click and see a pictorial representation. So boom. So now we're on V2 and it's going to recode the whole thing and it's going to include this new code in there. All right, so here we go. We have our V2. Let's slide this over so we can see things better. So we have our population chart same as before, but now we have our ocean view. So we can change phytoplankton's number, zooplankton, and killer whales. And then we're going to run simulation. And we're going to hit play. and then it shows the numbers changing here, and then we have the emojis popping in and out, demonstrating the population, and then it resets. So that was with 2 prompts. I was able to make a population chart map and run a visual simulation representing that map with 2 prompts. So I really love it for science, but let's explore one other use that's not science. Let's do some sort of choose your own adventure history. I think that could be fun. So we'll go to new artifact, and I'll end by showing you a few other artifacts I've done that are kind of cool. So I'm teaching high school history, and I want to do a sort of choose your own adventure, sort of Cuban Missile Crisis. So you can take any historical event and say, okay, so I want to have a correct path, that like what actually happened, and an incorrect, and students will have to deal with the consequences of their choices. And one thing I appreciate in Claude is it'll ask me some clarifying questions to help me flesh this idea out. So what perspective should students play from? So you can play from the US side or the Soviet side. Let's do neutral observer. And how should the wrong choices play out? Immediate consequences shown, then restart. Nuclear war ending with fallout explained. Slide in escalation with historical context. I like the slide. What level of historical detail? Let's go deep. You know, this is education. We want to educate these kids. And then it gives me out his plan, and then it asks me if I want to execute that plan. So it can help you visualize what you're going to create. You're a historian advisor with access to declassified documents, intelligence reports, and transcripts. They're reconstructing the 13 days. You must make the calls that real decision makers face. So structure 5 to 6 major decision nodes following the actual chronology. Each was 2 to 3 choices. The historically accurate path moves forward. Wrong choices don't dead end. They slide into escalation, which I like. I don't want to be like, you're dead. Kennedy ordered an airstrike on October 16th. Here's what Soviet commanders in Cuba were actually authorized to do. So it's going to base it on what's known about it. Tone serious and immersive. Students feel the weight of their decision. So this will be a rich React artifact with branching logic and progress tracker and a final debrief screen summarizing what actually happened. Let's go. All right, so a few minutes have gone by, a couple minutes. It wasn't too bad. And now we have our text-based adventure. Here's the 6 decision nodes covering the full 13 days. The U-2 photographs arrive. Blockade versus airstrike debate. Soviet ship approach the quarantine line. Black Saturday and Khrushchev's 2 letters. The Arkhipov submarine incident resolution and lessons. Now, I'm not a history guy, so I can't verify all this information. Obviously, you're going to have to verify, test out to make sure that it's at least the factual stuff, like what actually happened. But let's just play it for fun. CIA photo analyst Arthur Lundahl placed the reconnaissance photos on the table before President Kennedy and his advisor. U-2 spy plane images show Soviet SS-4 medium-range ballistic missile sites under construction in Cuba. And it gives you sources. I like that. Kennedy's first critical decision. How should the U.S. respond to the discovery? Convene a secret advisory group and buy time. Launch an immediate airstrike on the missile sites. Demand an emergency UN Security Council session immediately. Let's launch a missile. Escalation. An airstrike is ordered, but classified Soviet documents released after the Cold War reveal something the CIA didn't know. Soviet commander Isa Pliev had approximately 100 tactical nuclear warheads already on the island, pre-delegated for use if Cuba was invaded. So then it gives you a chance to reconsider. So blockade versus the airstrike. I mean, before we struck it, but we didn't know they had 100 nukes. But now I got the right one. A blockade is weak. The missiles are already there. Dean Arkinson, former Secretary of State, sides with the airstrike. Robert Kennedy, the Attorney General, delivers pivotal argument against the strike. My brother is not going to be the Tojo of the 1960s. He invokes Pearl Harbor. A surprise attack is not the American way. So they're saying an airstrike cannot guarantee 100% destruction of missile sites. Soviet personnel will die. The surviving missiles could still be launched. So I chose historically accurate, the blockade. Continue the next decision. I like the context and the content. Maybe I want to spruce it up a little bit. So it isn't moody enough. I want to see what it does with the music. It can make some pretty annoying music, like a little MIDI beep, beep, beep. And make the artifact window look like a military command panel, like blinking red lights, etc. So this could make or break it, but that's the fun thing. You can always say like, that didn't work. let's go back to a previous version. So I can still go back to version 1. So if you make a bunch of changes, you don't like it, you still have your previous versions. You hear the audio, it's not that great, so we'll turn that off. You can play around with it, it's not great. So we try to give it more of an overhaul. This probably isn't the most accessible looking, but it's got like the flashing, the waiting input, XCOM situation room. So like it's taken into account what I've said. Maybe I wouldn't go with this version. I'm like, it's too hard to read, especially like the sources here. But it definitely gives a different vibe to the whole thing, right? I'll just take a brief second and show you a couple other ones. I know this is a longer video than usual. And then I'll leave a link to both of the artifacts I made in this video in the description of the video. So you can click them and you can remix them or take them and do whatever you want. Explore for yourself. Alright, so just briefly to round us out. This is one of the first ones I worked on in sediment transport. I actually shared this with Jeff, and we have a better version on his computer where I increase water flow. I forgot I'm messing around with sound, and show like how it transports different sediment. I gotta fix that audio issue. This is one of my favorite ones where it's a solar system and you get to mess around with gravity. So I can see that there's already an issue I'd have to fix with Mercury getting out of whack already. But what you can do is you can change the gravity of Earth and see how it affects other bodies of the solar system. So I can make it like 176,000 times stronger. Now it starts flinging planets around and it's just whipping different asteroids out of the asteroid belt. And it's throwing off the orbit of Mercury. It'll probably whip Mercury. Oh, we almost have a new moon. Mercury's our new moon. That's fun. And then it flung it. Bye, Mercury. Anyway, and then you can, all the way up to we're now both suns. You can time warp it too, speed up time. And you can zoom in and out to see what happens to our solar system. Mars is gone. Jupiter is gone. A drum pad loop maker. So, and then you can even choose like different kits. So, all right, and you can change the beats per minute, etc. I did a demo, like a simulation of protein synthesis, and it just runs you through the stages. So, like, it is ridiculous everything you can do with this. All of this just from my imagination. I'm just animating, unzipping the DNA, and then next step, and then we're synthesizing the mRNA, and then next step, now we're exporting it out of the nucleus, and then the ribosome is assembling the protein, and then we have the translation, and we go to each codon, and then it releases the protein in the end. This was my very first one, near and dear to my heart. It's a food web collapse simulator where I can remove different levels of a food web and see how it affects. So I get rid of the mouse. You can see that it damages the owls, and it gives you a little write-up about what's going on as well. So snake is weakening. Its primary food source has collapsed. And then you start taking out different things, and so I can see like this worm still eats fungi. So if I get rid of that, boom, there's we've had half of it collapse, half of it is surviving, but not great. I always thought when I was teaching food webs, it'd be fun to have an activity like this, and now I just did it. All right, that's enough out of me. Go explore it for yourself. It's a ton of fun. As I said, I'll link a couple of these in the description of the video. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next one.